This is a segment from my interview with Vic Mignogna. A link to the full podcast will be made available in the near future. So, my next question I have for you, with other voice actors you've worked with, have you ever found yourself imitating any of the characters that they do? And are you good friends with any of the cast you work with still?
Oh my gosh, yeah, very good friends. It's funny talking about imitating. There have been a few occasions where the character that I played was required to imitate another character. And so, like, for instance, in Full Metal, there was a scene early on where Envy turns into Edward, and for one or two lines, the director wanted me to do kind of Edward imitating Envy. So it was kind of my opportunity to imitate Wendy Powell. There have been other shows like Tsubasa Chronicle, where my character Phi did kind of a cheesy impression of Kurogane, who is played by Chris Sabat.
Do you want to give that a go right now? I think people would like to hear that.
Oh, no. No, I don't. But, Chris has a very, very deep, heavy voice, and, Phi is a very quiet, light-hearted, soft kind of character. And so to suddenly, to be talking like this and talking as Phi Fluoride all the time, and then suddenly be doing this kind of, doing this low kind of Chris Sabat thing was a lot of fun. And then in Soul Eater recently, I played Deathscythe, and he is the weapon of a character named Stein, and my dear, dear friend Chuck Huber plays Stein. The second question, am I good friends with these people? Oh, my Lord, yes. Very, very good friends with many of them. Caitlin Glass and I are dearest friends. Goodness gracious. Chuck Huber, Travis Willingham, Aaron Dismuke, Monica Rial, Mike McFarland, on and on and on and on the list goes. Colleen Klinkenbeard, Todd Habercorn, Wendy Powell. I consider these people very good friends. And the funny thing is that we are not friends because we worked on a show together. Because the reality is we don't record at the same time. I don't know if you know that or not, but we don't record at the same time. So realistically, you could do an entire show and never meet anyone else in the cast. So I have not developed a friendship with these people because we did the same show together, because we might not ever meet each other in the show. I've developed a good friendship with them from doing conventions together, from spending time with them over a weekend at a convention. So that's where we really get the chance as voice actors to bond with each other and build friendships.
That's fantastic. That sounds like it would be a great experience.
It is.
I'd like to ask now, I haven't asked too many Dragon Ball Z questions, but we do have some fans of yours who are Dragon Ball Z fans. So I'm going to ask a question about Broly. With a character like Broly, did you feel he was given the short end of the stick in movie number 2 and 3? Going from a universal threat that loomed over the galaxy, requiring 4 Super Saiyans and a Namek to defeat him, to becoming Goten and Kid Trunks' slapstick amusement?
Oh my gosh, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more.
I think a lot of Broly fans are actually embarrassed by that second and third movie, but the first one they love.
I know. The first movie, he was such a bad dude, you know what I mean? He was such an intense, powerful, imposing, ominous character that just, he was like unstoppable. And that first movie was fantastic. However, when he came back in the second movie, and he's like, oh my gosh, and he's not anywhere near as interesting or powerful as he was in the first movie. But then the third one was the worst, Ozzy. The third one, oh my gosh, the third one, he was like a pile of jello, that moans and groans, and that's all he does. And it was really unfortunate to get in there and go, okay, so he doesn't talk at all. This is awesome.
Well, isn't that fun, considering that like the first script would be a lot of Kakarots? And then the third one's just,
Yeah, just a lot of moaning and groaning. So I agree with the fans. It was very unfortunate.
Well, I think the fans are relieved to hear that. But, all right, well, on to a Full Metal Alchemist question here. What do you think Ed from Full Metal Alchemist would have a complex about if he were a bit taller?
Wow. What would he have a complex about if he were a bit taller?
I figured you'd know the character better than anyone, so maybe
Well,
you know.
that's the first time anyone's ever asked me that question, though. So he does strike me as the kind of person who would have a chip on his shoulder about something. So if it wasn't his height, it would be something else. I would say he probably would have a real chip on his shoulder about his dad abandoning the family, which of course he already does. So even if he were taller, that would still be there. And even if he were taller, he still wouldn't be as tall as Al. So even if he were taller, he'd still look like the smaller brother. And I think he'd have a complex about that.
All right, then. So I hear that Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood will be released very soon. What was the difference about working on this series compared to the first?
Well, you know what? Did you know that it was just announced? It was just like literally earlier this week, Funimation officially announced that Brotherhood will premiere on next Saturday night at midnight on Adult Swim.
I actually did hear that. Yeah, that's why I thought the fans would want to know.
Yeah, very good question. We're very, very excited that it's going to be back on television. What's the difference? Wow. Well, you know what? I will tell you this. It was rather daunting coming back to that character. If you think about it, when you create something that you're proud of, that everybody did a great job on, you all feel so proud of this body of work, and you put it to bed and finish it, and it's done, and it's on DVD and Blu-ray for everybody to see, and you feel good about it, but then you move on to the next chapter of your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly when people want you to come back and do it again, suddenly there's this feeling of anxiety.
To replicate what you did before?
Exactly. This feeling of dread, like the expectations now are going to be much higher than they were before. And what if I don't do as good a job? What if the story isn't as strong? What if the animation isn't as good? What if the music isn't as dramatic? What if the writing isn't as strong? What if one of these many variables that go into making a good show, what if it's not as good? Nobody wants to follow up a great success, you know what I mean, with a mediocre success. And so I was a little bit, I have to confess, a little bit worried about returning to that role. I will tell you that shortly after getting into the recording, all of my love and passion for Edward came back very quickly, and everybody that's in the show is doing an amazing job. In fact, the girl that's playing Al in Aaron's place now, because Aaron sounds like a man now, she is doing a fantastic job. Everybody really, really loves the show. I'm very excited about the show because it's a whole different story, new